Turning our attention now to the incident, an unfortunate one that happened in Baga, that small fishing community in Maiduguri. We're joined now by Ima Nsa-Adegoke, who is a public affairs analyst, a lawyer, and, well, I almost said politician, but you like to refer yourself as well, a missionary in politics. Well, thank you for coming on this morning anyway. But looking at this matter, well, yes, those who say, well, good thing, the president immediately just said, well, there's going to be this pro-panel to really look into what happened at that time. But lots of questions also pop up. Looking at how the events eventually went, even though, yes, when the report comes up, we'll understand what actually transpired. But there are some questions concerning, it's a Multinational Joint Task Force. What happens? Who do they report to? How will this panel eventually come up with their recommendations? What kind of recommendations will they be? But in all, let's start with your perspective on the matter first.
Well, it's a very sad thing that on any occasion there's a loss of life, whether it's one, not to talk about a number of lives that are lost on account of some exercise, whether the exercise is legitimate or not. And I think that the whole incident with Baga and, as of this morning, Bama or Bana, I think, is just something that I believe is a dent on, the image of the nation as a whole. But having said so, we also understand that the security issues in the country have escalated because of reasons that, depending on which side of the camp you're on, people want to advance. Some people think it's on account of bad governance. Some people think it's because someone doesn't have enough liver to make decisions. Some people think it was on account of those who lost an election, so they're not willing to actually step into it to do what they're supposed to do. So you have, all sides of the divide proffering their own ideas as to the whole situation. But the truth is that the people on the ground are suffering. Whether we're on the side of the decision makers or we're on the side of those who lost out and couldn't make the decision, the common man is taking the brunt of this mess. And we're losing lives. But my perspective on this is that many times we tend to politicize issues, but we forget that these military men are also Nigerians. We forget that they're putting their lives on the line for us. We forget that they also have fears. When there's no person who goes into combat, even a thief who goes to steal wants to come back alive to enjoy his booty. So when you're talking about the military man, I think all of us have talked about the presidency, the governance. We're not talking about the military. We're not actually taking into account, the things, the challenges they have to face when they go into this situation.
You see it as a sacrifice?
Yes, there's a sacrifice. Aside from that, they're ill-equipped. Whether we like it or not, our military is ill-equipped. For whatever reasons, whether it's on account of someone stealing monies or monies not getting down the line, these are people that are ill-equipped. And you're talking about what we call the corofos, the foot soldiers who actually go to this battle. They're underpaid, even when the books say they have X amount of money coming to them as salaries. The truth is that many of them don't see that X amount coming to them as salaries. What they actually take home, after all the spurious deductions that come to their salaries, I mean, it's ridiculous. When you look at men of the same nature, we talk about the Western world, we talk about, policing, we talk about, the military people, we like to compare ourselves with them. But we forget that these people are well paid, they're well trained, they're well equipped to do what they do. How much equipment do we have? Look at the police force. I saw on the news, was it not yesterday or so, the president, we're being told in the news that for the first time in 37 years, the police is having some kind of training, parade and all of that. That's ridiculous. And in 37 years for the first time, and we're rejoicing about that, they don't have helicopters. They don't have all of these things that are needed. So whose side are we really on? Are we talking politics about governance, or are we talking about, losing out on the ability to govern? Let's take a look at those who are actually taking the brunt, the military and the civilians. Yes, people died. Unfortunately, the truth is that when you go into a built-up area, it's difficult. I'm not a military person. I don't have any military person in my family, so talking this is not because I'm talking about something that hurts me, but I'm just trying to look at the issues dispassionately. When military persons go into built-up areas to, take out combat, there's always going to be collateral damage. So the extent of that damage is what we want to talk about. Now, and of course, there's so many things. Some say 25 persons died. Some say 228 persons died. The villagers, according to them, in quotes, say 185 persons died. Even if it was one person that died who wasn't a part of the conflict, it's bad enough. Even though as a nation, we don't seem to put a premium on lives. Because if we did put a premium on lives, youth coppers who died in the line of duty shouldn't be given 5 million naira. That's not a premium on life. That's a statement that was far below what was done. So when we look at it from all of these issues, I think the panel that's been set up must be a judicial one. It shouldn't be whether there's a military man or there's a government man, and it shouldn't be a question of because I paid you, so you can, you bring out reports that suit me. And what will happen to the reports? I hope it's not going to go down the drain like so many other reports in the country.
You've touched on so many issues here. The salary issues as well as the equipment is very key here.
Yeah.
Perhaps if they had some kind of equipment to actually show some visuals of that particular operation, by now would have been able to account for casualty figures and as to what exactly transpired.
Exactly. Also, the issue of equipment being proper also helps to forestall propaganda. Because I know that there have been issues in, the American campaigns where, certain videos during an operation supposedly went viral or the other. But, that which was recorded by the military came up later on to show this was actually what happened. So such equipment would have helped to forestall all the politicizing about the numbers of people that died. But they don't have that. We're lost and we're left with this speculation, and yet there are people who've been hurt. I live in the Niger Delta, and I know when the whole issue was happening there, a lot of people who weren't from there ran away. They went to Abuja, they went to Lagos. But the truth is that the locals don't have anywhere to go to. They sit there, they hear the bombs go, they hear the, they hear the guns go. I mean, many years ago, a 5-year-old in Port Harcourt could tell you the difference between an AK-47 and a police gun. We used to laugh about it after all of that, but that was a sad truth. So when you're talking of the people in the north, the common people there are the ones who are taking the brunt of all of this.
You've raised, as Suleiman said, a host of issues, and one of them is striking a balance between support for our military men and also trying to make sure that we do not record so much collateral damage that turns us against our military men. How do we strike that balance?
Well, one of the things I think I would suggest would be a very vibrant press, because a press that relies on investigative journalism will help a country build up its reputation. We have too many fly-by-night press people, unfortunately. People who just hear stories and rehash them. When we're talking about these issues, where's the independent fourth realm that has gone and said, look, I checked it out myself, I go with my cameras, I did see these graves, I didn't see the graves, not just, hearsay. We're having a lot of hearsay in the fourth realm. And if we don't have a vibrant fourth realm, we're left with all of this mess, because the politicians are going to talk about the 200 and somethings, and the military will talk about the 20s. Everybody wants to keep it, where it suits them. That's why we have the fourth realm. That's why we need people like you who have the cameras, who have the ability, who have the space, who have, to go there and do some investigation and say to us brazenly, without fear, this is exactly what we saw on ground. This is what happened. We didn't see any graves, we saw graves. These are the things we want to hear.
You do not think that any other independent body within government or government could even raise an independent panel? Because here you are, you have to, give support to your troops. You also have to make sure that the lives of the citizens you're trying to protect are not lost in the process of giving support to the troops as well. So do you also see a role for government here?
Yes, we do see a role for government, but you must put government in the context of the Nigerian situation. People have lost faith in government. They don't believe government speaks the truth. For example, everybody or most people will listen to NTA at 9 o'clock, but they'll switch maybe to channels at 10 or AIT at 8. They want to have a balanced story. That's the truth. Because everything that's government tends to be pro-government. That's the way the Nigerians perceive what governance is. So if the government is going to set up another probe, they're going to be asking themselves, what did we do with the last X number of probes we had? Except, of course, pay the people salaries, and they went around on trips. What was done with the probe, the results, the reports? What was done? So this is the crucial aspect. So we need independence, and it can't be government or military. It has to either be maybe the NGOs, maybe the press, like I had suggested before, but it has to be independent. Now, of course, we cannot also talk about, if we had a government, for example, that could speak the truth, and people think and believe they speak the truth. The funny thing is that at first they may not, but as you continue to believe and speak the truth and do the truth, eventually people will become believers.
Part of what they think they want to do to sort this problem out is they're considering amnesty. Do you think the way it's going now, that we will eventually, at the end of the day, achieve a measure of success?
I believe in amnesty because, for one, I believe we all operate under a divine amnesty. And without one, we can't even have the ability to realize that we were actually messed up. So, having said so, I believe that amnesty is essential. Now, I was considering this issue and I was saying to myself, how come all of this is happening now, It's very easy to say, oh, it's bad governance, it's this, it's that. The Niger Delta issue happened when it was Yaradua. He came up with the issue of amnesty. And because that was given, amongst these people, whether militants or Boko Haram, there are people who actually want to get out of the system. Some have been sucked in, either by reason of their association or family or whatever. They've been sucked in against their will. There are many of them who are praying, oh, I just wish I had a way out. So when you give amnesty, you're saying to those who dare to take it and say, listen, you have a way out. There's a window of opportunity for you to come out. And then those who remain, we can deal with them as criminals. You cannot say, no, don't give them amnesty. And the truth is that the Northerners are looking at amnesty as sauce for the goose and sauce for the gander. That's what most of them are thinking. But that shouldn't be the focus. The focus should be, there are grievances, just as there were in the Niger Delta. We had a lot of issues, pollution. I happened to work with, an environmental group for the kingdom, Bonny Kingdom, at some point in time. I saw firsthand what that did. But then when you go up north, there's poverty. Whether we like it or not, it's been exacerbated by the religious beliefs of the people. That, if you have money, well, God gave it to you. And if I'm poor, that's my lot in life. And that has become, the platform for which many people have been subjugated to economic, degradation. And so when there's an opportunity for some expression, violent or otherwise, they will take it because they want to be heard. We talk about poverty in the south. Go to the north. It's horrible. So these expressions give them opportunities to be heard. So let's give them amnesty.
What about the argument that people have that the point of law has also got to be maintained? That if you just give a blanket amnesty, first of all, we don't know who they are. Are we saying that they should not face up to the law if you kill people? So all those arguments are also out there.
Yeah. Aside from a few names we heard when the Niger Delta militancy was happening, did you realize that there would be over 5,000 militants that would come out? Did you see them? You only heard of the Boilos and Nsa-Adegoke. Those were the top men, maybe. Yes. But the truth was that they were supported by a band of people. And did we ever think that those ones, such a vast number will come out? So let's just give it a chance. There are parameters for amnesty, even as it was in that time. It was, okay, fine, we've heard you want this, you want that. Okay, maybe those people, some of them don't want it, like they're trying to do, and I believe that's the whole essence of all of this mayhem. To say, we don't want the amnesty, we just want to show you we're here for war. Fine, but let us advance to those who still want a chance to live and become something in life. So when we advance it to them, and then we see the remnants, for example, the people operating in Niger Delta and, pirating ships. They are now called pirates. They're no longer called militants, are they? They're now pirates. They've been given the correct name because they didn't come under the amnesty. So also, if we had the amnesty and these people came out, we would know those who would actually call Boko Haram and the rest of them.
All right, then Ima Nsa-Adegoke is a lawyer and a public affairs analyst. Thank you for coming on today.